I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First thing we have is approval of agenda, and I think we need to make sure everybody has the right one. Under Steve Howell on 6, do you have that section in there?
I think I had in my folder the old ones, and we did an amended one, so the one that you have, Randy, is right. It's because Steve had emailed adding afterwards.
Under 6, it's got minutes.
Well, minutes are 7 on mine. Under 6, what we're going to do is he's going to talk to us about this cut out on 237 by the solar panel park. And that would be A. And then he also has a request B, closing of Old 37 out of Perry Central School for a, they have this every year, I believe. It's an all-star tournament out there in that area. And then we're going to put this down on the bottom part. We'll do it at the after the resignation in 9, which you guys probably have it as 8. But I want to talk about the ambulance service or the ambulance equipment and the other equipment we're purchasing. Onyx Road and the courthouse bidding process. We'll put that down between C and D. Number 9.
Randy, Nicole's printing the ones that you have, because I pulled the one out of my folder, and I didn't print the updated one.
Okay, I think we got it.
Okay.
So is there any other additions, adjustments to the agenda? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve it as modified.
I'll make that motion.
And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Public comment. I see no one signed up.
Yeah, Randy, I'd like to make a comment before we
All right.
really get started in the meeting. I think with what happened this last week with the James family, I think we ought to keep our thoughts and prayers with them losing a son and 2 grandsons. So it's devastating
Tragic.
for the community. So just everybody in the county, keep their thoughts and prayers.
Even more so for the family to
Yes.
have that happen in an instant. It's,
So just, that was a comment. So thank you, everyone. So.
next item up, we have SRI services.
Good morning. I'm Zach Hughes. I'm the president of SRI. With me is Tyler Clements. He's the representative on our behalf for Perry County. And the auditor and treasurer just asked us to come by and talk a little bit about the tax sale process and how after the sale happens, what it looks like on their end as far as processing redemptions and moving the money around and that kind of stuff. So first, tax sale happens when someone is delinquent on taxes from the prior year spring. So like the sale happens this fall, to be eligible for that, they would be delinquent older than last spring. So older than 2023 spring installment, or including 2023 spring installment and older. So by the time you get to the tax sale in the fall of 24, they're roughly 2 years behind, basically 4 installments on taxes. And then at the sale, you sell a lien on that parcel, they have another year from the sale date to come in and redeem that property. So a lot of times you'll have people that come around to invest in those properties because they can get interest on their money. Right now, it's not that great. A couple of years ago when interest rates were so low, 5% on your money looks pretty good right now. You might be able to do better in other places, but Either way, they come, they bid on the property. They can either buy it for the minimum bid, which would be all of the delinquent taxes, plus any special assessments, fees, anything like that, whatever is in the auditor and treasurer's records for it. If they needed to come in and pay their taxes and get it all cleared up, that amount is what's in the minimum bid plus that November installment. So when someone bids at the sale, they clear the taxes up through the November installment of that year. After that, the buyer would have things that they need to do to take deed to the property should no one redeem at the end of the year. That would be a title search and then noticing any interested parties that are identified in that title search. And they can be reimbursed for those fees. That's set by the judge prior to the sale. I should have looked that up. I didn't look up what they normally are here, but generally it's between the two fees, it's around $400 that they can be reimbursed. They'll file that in the auditor's office on what's called a 137B form. As soon as that's on file, that's included in the redemption amount, plus the 5% per annum interest on any surplus. So that would be any bid above the minimum bid. And then also there's a 10% or a 15% penalty on the minimum bid. So if it's redeemed in the first 6 months of the year, it's a 10% penalty. If it's redeemed in the second 6 months, it's a 15% penalty. Anyone can redeem a property just like anyone can pay property taxes. So anyone can come into the auditor's office, find out what that redemption amount is, and pay those taxes, and then that lien goes away. It's all squared up going forward for the next installment. So when that redemption happens, the money comes in and it's put into the redemption fund. Hold on, let me go back to the sale date because that's where the whole thing starts. So when the sale happens, if there's no surplus, if it sells for the minimum bid, that money goes directly towards the taxes. So it's just like some random person came in and paid taxes. It's applied to that property, and then it gets divvied out through the next. I can't think of in June. What do you do in June after you get the tax? Settlement. That's what I'm looking for. In the next settlement, it gets divvied out to all the different places that it normally does. If there's surplus, so anything above that goes into a special surplus fund, and then the next year, if there's any, when there's subsequent taxes, if there's enough in that surplus fund for that parcel, that surplus would be used to pay the next installment of taxes. When someone comes in to redeem, they would have to pay all of the outstanding taxes. So they would pay what was the minimum bid amount plus that 10 or 15% penalty, depending on how long it had been. And then if there's any surplus, they would pay that 5% per annum interest on the surplus amount. And then if there's any 137B expenses, they would pay that 137B, whatever that amount is. When that comes in, the amount for the redemption goes into the redemption fund. The part that is surplus, the surplus would then be paid to the buyer. They get all their money back that they spent, plus all the extra interest and penalties. And then the money that is for the taxes, instead of going into the taxes and then taking it back out, it's just redistributed back to the buyer as part of that check that goes to them for the minimum bid amount and the surplus plus all the fees. Let's see. All of the information on this is all prescribed by the state statute. So it's pretty simple. It tells you after this date, do this with the money. If there's a surplus fund, it goes into the surplus fund. Redemption fund goes into the redemption fund. And then it tells you what the tax sale record is. And that's called a Form 137. That's prescribed by the State Board of Accounts. And that gives you all the information you would need to know about the tax sale. So the property, the owner, the minimum bid, the sale amount, the date of the sale, and then after the sale, anything that happens. So the 137B expenses will be reported on that. If there's an assignment, So if I buy a lien and a tax sale and I decide I don't want it, or for some reason I can assign a certificate, a lien to Tyler, and then he assumes all the responsibilities of the lien holder. That information would be on here. If it goes to deed, the person who's being issued the deed would be on here. All the surplus, all the redemption information, so that 10% penalty is on there. The interest on the surplus, if there is surplus, would be on there. The total redemption amount, the date of the redemption, who paid the redemption, quietus numbers. It says how much was due to the buyer as part of the redemption. All of those things are contained in the tax sale record, which is the Form 137. And they're electronically held on our website, but they're also our tax sale records. Your office probably keeps them up to date, but from the sale, they're in both offices, and then the auditor's office, because they're responsible for tracking that, has a book, paper book. So I know I went through that real quick, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that process.
When you go through the sale process, you carry out all these tasks, but you don't necessarily enter in any amount into the county's accounting system or allow system, do you?
We have a file that we can give them to make an entry in
They
there,
put
but
the entries.
yeah, we don't physically enter it in there.
So see, and this is what the question was, and I found it, but we have to sign as commissioners whenever people are refunded their money.
Sure.
State Board of Accounts told us that. We have to do that prior to any checks being written.
Mhm.
We have to approve it. When you look at the tax refund account, in this instant, we didn't see any money going into it from the party that was getting the refund. What I did find was an entry from a miscellaneous account that matched those dollar amounts. Okay, it was not tied to that specific property.
Mhm.
So when we look at money in, money out in an audit trail,
Mhm.
this was my question, why doesn't the money get put into the account and then paid to the treasurer? Then when the treasurer receives the check from either the party and or the bank, then it's placed back in to that account tied to the individual who purchased it. So we can see the name paid and the name's getting a refund.
Mhm.
So we have an audit trail. That's the purpose of audit, so we can see what transaction. In this case, everybody kind of knew what happened,
Mhm.
but if those people aren't there, auditors are tasked with being able to interpret how the money was handled. So
Sure.
that was my,
Excuse me. Yeah, and I understand that, and that's the purpose of the 137, the Form 137 as the tax sale record in it. It's not as clear as just going into the allow system and seeing.
and that's one simple step. Had it been placed in there and then paid out to the treasurer, you would have seen that transaction.
What do you mean?
So in other words, if the initial deposit on the purchase of the property, let's say it was $2,000 and that is 100% tax.
Mhm.
If it was put into that account, $2,000 received on X number of property, and then paid out for taxes to the treasurer, then when the treasurer received refunds that was placed back in there, we would see that the initial purchaser put the money in. It was transferred to the treasurer for taxes. When the treasurer received money to pay for those taxes from the redeeming party, bank, or whoever it is, it's placed back into that fund, then refunded to the original purchaser. We would have an audit trail through the system. Right now, we see no original purchaser because the money was transferred to the treasurer. The treasurer paid the taxes. When the treasurer in turn received the money, it was put back in through a miscellaneous account. I think it was a 900 account back into that fund and then refunded to the original purchaser. So the reason I knew it came back from the treasurer and what it was because I added up the total dollar amount in the transaction and looked for a matching deposit. I found it.
Yeah,
But it should be clearer so you can see in and out.
Can I say something?
Sure.
You don't see that in fund accounting because you have account numbers for expenditures and account numbers for receipts. So you have to, in order to see the full activity, and I'm not familiar with this, I'll have to look, we can do some more talking about it, but was it all in the same fund or were you pulling the account number history? Because your account number, you have a fund, and then you have expenditure account lines, and you have receipt account lines. So if you run that specific account line and it's an expenditure, you're not going to see any receipts. And you have, because you might do, like, let's say it's account fund number 1200 and the expenditure line is 33200, just throwing out. So if you run a report on 1200, 33200, that's an expenditure line item. You're only going to see the line item for expenditures. Now, if you run a 1200, 00900, which is a receipt line item, you're only going to see receipts. I'm just explaining that. So maybe if we have to run a full fund history, but maybe they separate a lot of things in with this, where you've got, this is the surplus might go into fund
right.
1000 or 1100, and your property tax payment might go into fund 1200, because that's how they keep the surplus and the property tax redemption, because I know we have a fund called
Yep.
property tax redemption separate. So
If you run all the accounts though, your incoming and outgoing comes and it's on one report.
it's in the
And
same
that's-
fund, but I believe that with this, you have a fund for property tax redemption, and then you have a fund for the surplus. I don't think they're,
1204 is the redemption,
Yeah.
1205 is the surplus, 1201 is another surplus tax fund we've got.
Yeah.
But if you'll run that form and take all the potential variances with it, you'll see where the payout came in and the return money came back in through a miscellaneous fund. It shows up there. That's where I found it. I mean, but again, when it says that it's Perry County and it's miscellaneous, how do we connect that back to the person we're paying out? I'm just trying to bring clarity to it.
Okay, so when they, like, for example, if you bought that property, then you'll come into my office and make your payment. We put it in it's called Whitus. We put that in there. Trying to think how you see it on your end. Not quite sure, Chris. But we can go one step further. Like we always put, obviously, for example, if you payment and paid, Randy Gold's paying. But we can write the parcel number in there.
Mhm.
We can absolutely.
But see, whenever we go back here, we're paying out money. This is what the commissioners have to sign off on. We're going to write a check, and it was a legitimate expense that the county should be refunding this money. Okay, that's our job. So when we don't see necessarily the money coming into the account for a refund, then that's what created my question. I think, wait a minute, where'd it come from? I see where you put it back in, but it did not come in the name of the individual we were paying it back out to. There was not a linkage there.
And that's
It
where
comes in-
the
it
tax
comes
sale
in-
record
you've
comes
seen
in.
it going
See, and
Because
so
there's a-
then,
Yeah, but you didn't
anytime
see
we
it
do
coming
a
in,
tax
so-
sale refund, we've got to have the 137 and go through all this
We weren't
documentation.
calling anyone out.
Or
Yeah.
Or we can actually put it into the refund account where it's going to be paid out if it's paid out. Most of these things are redeemed. I've seen
Yes.
that. They're
Yeah.
redeemed. So if you put it in there and then pay her taxes, then when she takes it and brings it back, we see that record transaction where that individual purchased, she got the money for taxes, she put it back in, we refunded it back to the individual.
So what he's saying is instead of doing a miscellaneous, create a vendor for the payee, correct? Because if the
You
miscellaneous,
You already have a vendor number for that one I looked at. It was created in order to pay her out.
But you're saying create it when we pay it in.
Yeah,
Instead
it should
of
go
paying
in and you can, as long as you can put it in, I don't care how you put it in, as long as there's a document that says, here's so-and-so's payment into this account, then it's transferred to the treasurer. Then we have a record of them buying the parcel and what they paid. Then it's transferred to the treasurer. She uses it for taxation purposes. Then when it's redeemed, she puts the money she receives back in, we pay it out. We have an audit trail as to how the money came in and
It's
how the money was
simple
used and how it
process.
came back
Boom,
out.
boom, boom, boom.
So you,
I don't, but the account line is called miscellaneous. And I don't think, I don't know how, when you don't do receipts are different than expenditures. Expenditures, I'm gonna create a vendor because I'm paying so-and-so. When you're receiving money in, you're receiving it into an account. You're not labeling you can't label every deposit because you're deposited into an account line. So you wouldn't create a vendor or you could put notes in on that.
We
But you
have,
can't.
right down there, right now, what I have is a miscellaneous receipt from the treasurer for this amount, and it says Perry County Treasurer. Had that said XYZ's redemption, then we'd say, hey, there's the
So
money.
that's where, okay.
That way you tie it to that, and
It
I,
identifies.
we shouldn't have to go through the 137s and all this every time a tax sale comes about to try to justify what we're gonna be asked to approve.
okay.
That's,
It just make it a little easier on everybody.
Yeah, because when we, like I said, when they come in, like if Randy came in and paid, we put, it's called the system, it's paperwork called quietus. So like any money that comes in the county, we put who's paying it, like it's going to what office and who's paying it. But,
and
I don't know if you can create it. I mean, I don't know if
You don't
But
necessarily
I don't want to
have
create a
to.
vendor for every deposit or receipt.
If you put
You put
in,
those notes in loud.
if you put that account as you used it with the notation as to where it came from, then that will show up when you run this this cash report.
you can't see that because we always put
It's in the
who paying
notes.
quietus.
What I can see is it says Perry County
And
Treasurer,
that's a
and I can
vendor.
look up the numbers,
Okay.
as to what it is, and it comes in as a miscellaneous.
And that's
You
because
can
we cut the
see-
check to Perry County Treasurer.
So can he not see the notes that we put in
Yeah,
there?
they can see the notes.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, they can see the notes.
If you put,
Okay.
all it says is Perry County Treasurer, that's the note area you're talking about.
Yeah.
But if we could put in,
No, there's a
No, that's
note area.
That's the
There's a
two,
note.
that's who it's paid
Yeah,
to.
I'll show you. You can
Okay,
come and see the
I'll go
system.
look, because
I'll
I
show you
don't, I've never seen that on
Because
any
you
of those.
have that choice of zero, like
Right.
that, yeah. Yeah,
Okay, we'll make sure.
and
you
we
can
can't
make sure-
create a,
Make
We'll
sure
make
I-
sure you can see that.
If you can just
I think
simply put
that's
that in, that way
issue.
we have it connected back when we
Yeah.
ask to give the
Yeah.
money back.
it's in the notes, he's just not seeing it in the title. Because we're moving that money, what it is you're moving that money to pay out the check. So we're moving that money to Perry County Treasurer, so Perry County can cut out a lot of our transfers. If you look, a lot of our transfers when we're moving, they say to Perry County Treasurer because we're moving the money to them so they can cut out the check. So Perry County Treasurer is on a lot. That's a,
Excuse me, make sure you guys can see the notes.
And the
there, 'cause that's in
miscellaneous,
there.
is a huge fund, because I ran that too, because I think maybe it just has a few transactions, but there's a bunch.
Okay,
we'll work on it,
all right.
explain it.
I just want to make sure that everyone knows, I think there was a lot of talk going on that we did not call any one individual out. At our last at our meeting over this, it was, and if we did, if anyone took offense to it, I apologize. But, we're just trying to get things straight.
I understand. I was up in Indy, your last meeting, and I know that we had this claim docket on the May 6th claim docket. You guys asked questions. I answered it. Got back with Kimberly, said, hey, send this information on. I honestly thought it was over. And then I was up in Indy and I was getting text message and phone calls about this claim question. And so that's why I reached out to Amanda. Amanda works more with SRI. They were actually up there in Indy. at the conference. So I was like, hey, can you help? And I know I had had Zach communicate with your president here to see if, make sure all the answers. And I appreciate them making the drive down from northern Indiana to come down and make sure we explain this. But just like I think I've said in other meetings, we're here. I mean, if you have any questions, I just, we're good to communicate and talk it out, and they handle all this. We kind of just do what they tell us to. And that's why we have them, and they're in 85 counties in Indiana.
I
So
don't think we're questioning your process.
I don't feel that at all. I just wanted to help clarify things.
yes, we appreciate
And
it.
also, I'd like to say that Kimberly Lasher does an excellent job on what on how she does this.
Thank you. Thank you. We also have their contract.
Questions?
If you guys had any questions, we had sent that out, Amanda and I.
Should be no changes from
Yeah.
the last few years.
Yeah.
It's just an annual.
They've been,
Annual
yeah,
contract.
service, we've had SRI over 2+ years. Not even questions, they've been great. Anything we need, they're always phone call away.
Comments, questions?
I guess the only question I would have, I can't ever remember when we had an audit would ever catch this. So I guess a lot of other counties does it exactly the same way we've been doing it.
Correct.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Here's one of the things people don't understand on audits. They just pick out a portion. And so if something
you know,
catches
it's a
their
random,
and so,
taking about 1%.
because you've made it through an audit doesn't mean that 100% of everything has been looked at. That's too time consuming. So any auditor will tell you that. It's just pulling out certain, and it seems like they vary from year to year. They'll pick certain areas out and really work through those and leave the others alone. And why or how or that, but that's how it happens. So,
But we do use SRI, which is in 85 counties. We do use Lao Financial and Payroll, which is the
At
same.
least,
They're
I
two
would
of-
say at least
yeah.
half.
So we're being guided, I think, by the best in the state. So
Thanks, Chris.
thank you.
Thank you.
with that said, any questions concerning the contract?
Do you have the contract over there with you?
I do. Do you want to see that
Yes,
paper? Yep. I'd
please.
emailed you guys that, but here there's actually two. There's the agreement and the tax
If there's
sale.
any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. It's $125 per parcel fee that's only paid if that property is either brought up to current by the property owner or sold at the sale. So
And then
no
you in
expense to
turn,
the county.
and then the ending individual purchaser pays that fee and there's no expense at all to the county.
Right.
Right.
Nothing. It's a complete. That fee is included in the minimum bid, so they pay it through that, and it goes into a.
They handle all the
Different fund.
paperwork, do everything, make sure everything's
You also
done
notice
properly.
Yep.
Takes that away from.
There hasn't been a reason to the last few years, but if the ones that don't sell start to pile up and you have like 15 or 20 left over at the end of the sale, I don't remember when the last time we did it, but at one point in time we had commissioner sales, which is basically just the leftovers of those that can be auctioned at a lower bid to try and encourage them to get back on the
It's
tax
basically
rolls.
the ones that you ran through the system a few times and can't get a bid on them, so you
Correct.
just in turn want to move them on,
Correct.
so. You okay with?
Yeah.
Renewing
I
it?
just don't like to sign a contract before I look at it.
I emailed it.
The,
It was a while ago though.
I'd entertain a motion to retain SRI for, I guess it's a yearly contract, right?
Correct.
Next year.
I make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank you for your
gentlemen, for
time.
making the trip. Whitney Zellers. I think I added the other ones to it. Here's the newer ones, but it's not the whole. Looks like Aaron's. taking over.
I am, and I only have 4. Sorry.
Andrew can have
No, I don't mean.
it.
I'm not elected.
All right, well, my name is Erin Emerson with the Perry County Development Corporation, and I am here to provide an update for our contract. I just gave you all a document. It's over 60 pages, so I'm not going to review all of it by any means, but there are a few sections that I wanted to specifically call out. Under attraction, which is one of our key focus areas, for January 1st through the end of May, we've received 32 requests for information from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. And of those, we were able to respond to 4 of those projects with a site that fit the criteria, but that actually needs to be updated to 5 because I had sent a question to the IEDC about whether or not a project can be submitted, and I received a response this morning. So that one will go up to 1 more. There is some information from the IDC on their year-end report, just so you can kind of get an idea of the types of projects that are coming through the state. There was a significant increase in searches for sites with over 100 acres. Average minimum requirement for ceiling height was over 30 feet. 38% of the requests were for sites, 31% were for buildings, 31% were for sites for buildings. 57% of the requests were for specific geography or county versus being statewide, and 34% of the requests were for sites that were rail served. There are a couple of other projects listed there that we've worked on so far this year. One of them involved an industrial company based out of Indianapolis that had a desire to open a second location to be closer to their customer base, and that property was purchased and that is moving forward, but we are waiting on the company to share that information. And there was another potential project with a data company. There is an update on Wapaka there and their electric melt project, which unfortunately will not be occurring. They had vetted that project for the last couple of years because one of their cupolas is nearing its end of life. And the cost, just from the initial estimate to 2 years later, the cost had increased substantially, and they had a change in ownership, and the market has changed a little bit, so we could not make up that financial gap of millions to get where we needed to be. But they are going to continue to invest in the facility, and rather than investing in the new electric melt, there will be another cupola put in, and that will happen towards the end of next year. So they will continue to be here and maintain the number of jobs that they have. There are some information about some meetings with Mervis and Best Home Furnishings and a few other companies there. On small business support, we are continuing to partner with the Chamber on small business spotlights. So far, there have been over 70 businesses that have been featured, and they've reached over 300,000. And just a reminder that we do have that partnership with the Southwest Indiana Small Business Development Center that includes free one-on-one business counseling, and we are in the process of setting up some regular office hours that will be in our conference room, so that will occur every month. On workforce development, we have partnered with Tell City High School to hold a youth worker job fair to connect 418 students with 15 employers. A lot of those were for summer jobs. Also, the 3rd annual Skilled Trades Fair, which is a career exploration event. 321 students and 31 employers were impacted there. Instructor travel, we did assist Ivy Tech with funding some instructor travel for instructor. The course was like an intro to human services course, so that local students were able to get those credit hours. The pathway is human and social services, and it's designed for students entering the mental health field. There were 10 students that took the course, and each student took all 4 with 3 credit hours for a total of 120 credit hours. So based on the current tuition, that resulted in a savings of over $20,000 for local families. On Make My Move, we have some really exciting numbers to share there. We just finished out our first contract, and as a reminder, that is the program that includes $7,000 incentives for out-of-state movers. For our first contract, we had 19 new residents, 14 adults and 5 children, 8 households. Average household income of over $98,000, overall economic output of over 344,000, taxes generated over 45,000, local jobs created 2.15. And that is based on a return on investment calculator that they have worked with the state to create. We have already begun our second contract with Make My Move, and Shiraz is in the process of working with several potential movers for that contract as well. There's some information on status updates on some of the housing projects that are going on. There's some updates on childcare. Senate Bill 2 did pass the legislature, which we had helped to advocate for, and we're waiting to see how that will be implemented by the state. There's some information about our participation in a state regulatory review meeting. And I keep going on that, but I'll skip ahead a little bit and you guys stop me if there's anything you want me to focus more on. For Ready 1.0, there are 4 houses underway for Forest Canton Heights subdivision. All that funding has been expended. Hoosier Heights subdivision, the bids for site prep and sanitary and water line installation were due back on 5/23 and open on 5/24, and work will begin soon. We're very excited to get that one underway. Phase 1 of that project includes 33 single-family home lots, and they're getting $1 million in ready funds. And the Ivy Tech Workforce Training and Enhancement Project, that involves upgrading some of the lab space with heating and air so they can be used year-round, and purchasing some advanced automation and robotics equipment. And the bids for the HVAC came back under budget, so we are working on transferring that to additional equipment. Sports complex, the plan is still to begin immediately following the season. On Ready 2.0, the region was again awarded $15 million for this round 2. After the state and administrative portion, that ends up being about $14 million. And we are right now finalizing a scoring rubric, which projects will be run through. It will take into account several things, including our regional strategy and how well projects align with that, as well as the state's KPIs and their final approval. And then there is also the opportunity to submit some other projects for $250 million that is specifically set aside from Lilly Endowment for arts and culture and blight and redevelopment. Region 15 has a brownfields assessment grant right now. So if anybody is aware of a project that could potentially involve a brownfield, they can be covered under that grant right now. It's a really great opportunity to just feel out sites that could be right for development at no cost. And lastly, with Radius, the Radius board approved Perry County joining the Discover Indiana brand, and that was launched or unveiled last week, our edition. It's a $5,000 a year cost, and we are sharing that with the CVB in order to participate. And there's many pages after that, but that is the overall summary, and I am happy to answer questions.
I got to do some reading, but you answered my question whenever I was getting ready to ask you that the 90,000 under budget on bids, whether we can retain that for some other use. And that's,
Yes, we had to do an official request to the state to reallocate it and put it into equipment as opposed to HVAC, since it wasn't needed on that side. They should approve the additional.
you're feeling comfortable they will. Okay.
We're
We do the same
waiting on
thing
feedback, but I think they will.
when bids come in a little more competitive, and then
Yeah, we don't want to lose that.
you don't want to lose the money, correct? Any other questions? Well, we need to do some reading on this. It's quite a book.
Yep, feel free to reach out, email, call. I can come back. Just let me know.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, thank
Thank you,
you.
Aaron.
Next thing we have up, Steve Howell. And this is to cut the right-of-way on 237 by the solar panels for the water lines. That's one of the projects Aaron just spoke of.
It's for the new Hoosier Heights subdivision, right?
Yeah, I have an application from Sam first to open cut that. He said by the time those meters are close to the road out there that they put in last year, and he said he's gonna be to the center line to be able to hook to those meters, the 8-inch line, and he's said he would take care of everything, and I'm sure he will. We've never had a problem out of him on anything like that.
As we had discussed earlier, Steve, I just want to make sure that those lines, whoever becomes the end owner of them, whether they're given to Tell City or however, I'm not sure exactly. Aaron, you may be able to answer that before you leave. The lines, is it going to become Tell City's property?
Are they the?
The ones across the actual road?
Pretty sure that they were, don't quote me on that. I
Okay.
think that
My question.
they did an investment in order to be able to serve.
Right, they took the one down the side of the road, and now they need to cross the road. And my concern was, so that when they cross the road, that whoever is the owner of that
Right.
is allowing others to tie onto it, to take it both ways down the road, so that in event, we don't have to go through that highway multiple times cutting the
Which
road
makes sense.
to do that, just so we make sure that happens, so that others will have access to it. So at least Tell City owns it up to a point before it becomes private, whatever that amounts to. Any other?
That could come down to an engineering question also, if it's big enough to supply
Yeah,
multiple.
I think it's 8
multiple.
inches.
8-inch line, yeah.
8 inch
It
line,
should
so
be then,
it's a
so,
big
yeah.
one.
They did have a pretty significant upgrade.
Right.
In order to be able to serve that.
Right.
Andrew, would that have any legal issues there or papers to sign as far as people that would want to tap into that line that is across the road?
So I mean, are they asking for a permanent easement to service that line?
They're just asking for an application to run.
To go run across it?
Mhm.
So they'd have no property right from on the actual,
That's what I'm wondering about, yeah,
Well, they need to have access for maintenance.
yeah.
yeah, I would imagine that they would probably want some type of easement so they could continue to make. If it's not gonna be ours, then they need to have a property right to maintain it.
Mhm.
Or they're just asking to cross the,
Yes. I don't think he's.
But this
even
is
got the
just
bid yet.
across the
Right.
highway, right?
Just a cut, so what it
Yeah.
amounts to, but
Yeah.
we need to know who the owner is gonna be, and they probably, whoever's gonna maintain that, in likelihood, you know.
Yeah.
After we're long gone, somebody may have to do something with it, but,
Yeah, down the road, it's just like right now with roads out in the county that nobody ever heard of, it's going through the middle of people's property, and there you are. And
So whatever,
I can find out.
if we need to get an easement through their farm, I don't think, we wouldn't have an objection. They need to be able to take care of it. And then we need to have sufficient area on the other side, whoever retains ownership, so that others can tap onto it
Right.
and take the line to
But
where it
someone
needs
may
to go.
want to build a home on the other side of the road.
I
you
think
know,
he's, I'm
property.
pretty sure he told me that they would, anybody could hook to it.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that that's written properly or
Almost
however.
positive it's the city, but it's.
I think we can go ahead and approve the cut, go ahead and tell them, go ahead, and we can work on that, get an easement. Where we want to set it up, because we don't want to hold up progress.
Or is he ready to go to work? Do you know?
No, he's not, I don't think he's even secured the bid yet. He's bidding on this project. Do you know if he did?
So he is the low
Yeah.
bidder.
Okay.
Well, we opened bids, on the 24th,
So has it been awarded?
pending review.
Okay.
And we need all the
But
projects.
he,
need to
but
have
he probably will have to order pipe.
Right.
So maybe if we wait until our next meeting, which would be the 18th, you think that'll be a problem?
I don't think so. I know that we talked about getting them ordering stuff as soon as possible because we do need to get it disbursement before the end of September, but if you can order.
Yeah,
materials-
I just think as long as we, maybe whatever needs to be drafted as far as easements concerned and specific rights, I don't think anybody's got a problem with this.
Mhm.
It's
I
just to
wanna
make
see if
sure we
people
have
can
it,
Tap into it.
so that they've got the right to maintain it and also
Mhm.
others have the right to tap into it.
Yeah, it seems, it's a right-of-way permit, but it seems like it's almost creating some type of property right, because the language talks about then if the highway is ever repaired or anything, that the applicant will be responsible for removing or relocating the pipe as required by the county. Yeah, if you guys would delay it to the next time, I can look
I'll
at
make a
that.
motion that we table
We
this
table
until the May
next,
18th.
yeah. And then try to get these
Meeting.
questions answered, and if we need any kind of
Mhm.
documents put together, then
I
Andrew
think
can,
he said he probably wouldn't be starting before July anyway.
Okay,
you probably won't be able to get his pipe. I mean,
No.
we're not gonna object to it, I don't think.
No.
We just wanna make sure we get it right when we do it. We have a motion to table this until the next meeting. Have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Then I have a request from Perry Central. They want to have their all-star attorney to have every year, July the 19th, 21st. They want to close that section of road right in front of the school there. They've been doing this.
do that every year, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll make a motion to let them do it.
I'll second that
We
motion.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All I need, thank you.
Thank
Mhm.
you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Next item up is the minutes for 5/21/24. Any comments, changes, modifications?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Payroll for 6/3/24 in the amount of $179,677.80.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to accept the payroll as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Payroll withholding in the amount of $38,850.49.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Health claims in the amount of $58,044.89.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Dental claims, the amount of $106.41.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Everybody must be brushing their teeth. That's
Vision,
pretty low right there.
vision claims, $122.13.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Insurance claims in the amount of $1,414.58.
Make a motion.
We have a
I'll second-
motion.
I'll
and a
second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Accounts payable claim docket for 6/03/24 in the amount of $342,898.08.
I make a motion.
A motion
I'll
Yeah.
second that.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Highway bids.
Was that claim in there of the tax sale to go to,
Yes, I think so.
It's
We
in there.
have- we
It's
actually
gonna
had
be
a
paid.
second one too.
okay, thank you.
Good. And that'll all be settled.
First item up is the rebidding of Brushy Fork Road. And again, we want to say we're sorry we're doing this again. We hope we don't repeat that in the future. Looks like we have 4 bids.
4.
Yeah, Chris has them sorted properly.
Good of each.
Get you some new glasses, Steve. That's it. Mine, didn't work better than my prescription a lot of times. This is on Brushy Fork.
Rushy Fork, this is the one we had
Yep.
previously bid, and I like the tabs. Okay. This bid is from C&R Construction in the amount of $614,311.50.
I'll listen to it.
Write it down. This one is from E&B Paving. And E&B Paving's bid for that project is $602,900. This is from J.H. Rudolph. J.H. Rudolph's price for the Brushy Fork project, make sure I'm on the right one. Yep. Is $594,048.75.
594 what?
$594,048.75. This is from Mac Construction.
Who?
Mac Construction.
Mac Construction.
Yes. Out of New Albany. Their price is $607,600. Close. Yeah. Gotta say, we had really good bids on them. Appears to be the low bidder.
Yep.
This one is from resurfacing Avery Ridge Road to the Spencer County line, and then Chaplin from 145 to the end of the pavement at St. Joe's Cemetery, and 145 to Liberty Road, and to Old 37 from State Road 37 to 70.
State Road 37 to 70.
That's what it says on the tag.
Let's start with the old sawmill.
Oh, the side, the service road, I call it. Okay. Because I started to say they're doing 37 to 70 now. I think you're doing that, aren't you? 37 to 70, yeah. Is there 4 of those also?
Yes, there it is. This is from CNR Construction on this project. Their price on this project is $673,170. This is from E&B Paving. Their price is $676,100. This is from J.H. Rudolph. Their price on this project is $723,130.75. This one is from Mac Construction. $717,965.
CNR got the bid on that one.
Mid to low.
Yes.
You say CNR?
CNR.
That's what I tried.
Is that what you got?
Yep.
They were close.
Yeah. What is this one for? Do you know yet?
It's up there, northern part of the county.
What's that, Carlisle?
It's the old Branchville Road that ties into, I think, Oriole Branchville or something like that.
You know where?
Carlisle. Yeah, it's northern Oriole.
It'd be Carlisle, Margot,
Huh?
Carlisle, Margot, Opera, and, Leopold Oriole.
Okay. Anywhere near you, Steve? I mean, Randy,
What's that?
that ain't nowhere near you there.
That's up the northern part. This bid is from CNR Construction, and the roads are Carlisle Road from State Road 145 to Carmongo, where they come up with these names, and from that to Carlisle Road to 62, and then Leopold Oriole Road, from Leopold Road to Opera Road, and Opera from Leopold Oriole Road to Oriole Road.
Say that 10 times.
No, thank you.
I can't even say that one road name.
Okay, this is from CNR Construction, and their offer to pave that is $1,500,000. There's a nice round number.
That's actually, is that actually 3 different roads, Steve?
Yeah, or-
4 different
well,
roads,
yeah, it'd be 3, really.
because one's connecting, right? Okay.
This is from E&B Paving, same project. Their price on that road is $1,468,200. This is from J.H. Rudolph on the same project. Their price is $1,571,749.95. And this is from Mac Construction. And their bid is $1,534,200. So,
B&B got that.
E&B, looks like they're spreading it around.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank every one of you for submitting bidding. I know it takes time and effort on the part. The bids look competitive, and we want to thank you for your time and effort. We appreciate it. With that said, I would entertain a motion to award these pending review to the lowest bidder, as long as everything is in order with the documentation and that.
I'll make that motion.
No second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Pending review. Next thing we have up is additional appropriations for workman's compensation. And I think that's just simply because they come in every year and decide what our experience category is and the amount of hours that are used, and then they tell us what next year's price is going to be. So we don't have a whole lot of ability to negotiate or do much about it.
What is the cost for that? Or what is that? How much on that additional?
The total is, I got it right here, 5,928 additional appropriation.
Okay. I've probably seen it somewhere.
Yep.
But
Too many numbers floating around.
Any other comments, questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the
make a
additional.
motion.
I'll second that
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up, and this, we had a recent resignation from a commissioner's appointment to the Visitors and Tourism Commission. And with that said, I would suggest we advertise for individuals, and this would last, I think, through 24, because it's a 2-year appointment, and I think this was the term expires in 2025. So,
And the commissioners make that appointment, correct?
on this one, yes.
Okay.
The commissioners make, we have 6 appointments, and the city has 5 on that board.
Because I think I seen where the city was saying they could send letters to the,
They had a resignation
They had a
as well.
resignation.
oh, they had one as well. Okay. Okay.
They've got one, we've got one, so.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, I didn't, because I was a little confused on that and I thought, well, maybe it is that way.
They have within a day or two of each other, actually. I think.
Really?
So,
Okay.
Do we do the usually 6 weeks? It's gonna put us up in
Yeah.
July.
You're gonna be, your term's gonna be over. I'd entertain a couple weeks on this. It's just to fill a 6-month gap,
Mhm.
you know.
I'm good with that. I just thought,
Randy, with the city's appointee, do they have to be a city resident for that part?
I don't think there's a requirement
Mhm.
as to the resident location. I think you can make them from anywhere. It's just simply there to, I think even, I don't know if the council does it or whether the mayor does all of them. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what theirs. You want to advertise it and try to make an appointment at the 18th? I mean, that would
If
give
we
us,
have any applicants, yeah.
Okay, I'll get it posted today.
Okay.
And then bring all of them on the 18th that we have, if we haven't.
and it'll be through 2024, I believe. Confirm that. I think that's on the end of the 2-year. Okay, the other things that I wanted to add here to the bottom of this here, the council approved using the ARP funds.
Mhm.
And so now both sides is okay with it. And I want to get the ambulance bidding out as soon as we possibly can, because it's still going to take some time. My thoughts are, I've got it on the lower part. You've seen the drawings on the county courthouse expansion too.
Mhm.
And what he tentatively did was scheduled a meeting on the 24th simply for opening bids. Can you two make that? I hope,
Yes, when?
the 24th of June.
Is that an ARP meeting?
We have it meeting at 6 o'clock. Yeah.
I would like to cover that.
So
At
It's,
4, what time?
at 4 o'clock, and all we'll simply do is open it, and then we'll have to, hopefully we can award some of this stuff then by the July 1st.
This is for courthouse.
Courthouse, that's what he's advertising. He submitted it to the state for approval. And,
The 24th
yes,
at 4 o'clock.
yes. And then if there's any questions or anything, then we have our normal meeting on the 1st of July. The thinking is to give us a week to make sure everything's in order, then we can award come July 1st.
Yeah, because those are.
With that said, I have reached out to get specifications on the ambulance remount. And also, we have this equipment that's going inside of it, which is, I'm not familiar with it, but Michael Dahm and Leonard are working on, because they've interviewed a couple different vendors and that, and I don't know exactly what they came to what they need. So I'm dependent on those guys to supply whatever it is and how it needs to be grouped to get a better price out of it. So, but I want to get you okay to go ahead and do that when they get the ambulance stuff put together, and also the equipment, the AEDs, the different things they're going to bid out for that, so we can go ahead and get that process started. And if that's okay, I would set that. That'll give us a week here to get all the documents together, and then accept those bids on the 24th too. We just open at that time
So
too.
what is the scheduled meeting on the 24th? Is it an ARP meeting? Is it what kind
It's
of?
4
meeting?
o'clock, we're going to have a commissioners meeting.
Commissioners meeting, okay.
Yeah.
So I label it as commissioners meeting,
Yeah.
okay.
And then we're it's going to open bids.
Okay. Gotcha.
That way we can get that process
Mhm.
going. I
We
think that's
have one the 18th also.
18th is our regular schedule.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing. So, next thing I had down here on my list, we brought up this Onyx Road at our last meeting, and Steve looked on his list of roads he's getting paid for, and it doesn't show up. And Andrew says that we maybe do a title search, but what I'm concerned about, Andrew, is some of these county roads were never actually county roads. They just, county kind of just took them over, and there was never any documentation to that.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we may go there, we may find it. I don't know how it got on our mapping system as a road even to begin with. So, just to determine where we are, I mean,
I still think potentially a title opinion could help, because what they'll do, the abstractor will go through and look at all the records, and then whoever we hire for this title opinion, the attorney will look through all the records and say, well, based on what I'm seeing, I would say the title opinion is that the county does maintain this is county road, so we have clarity that we had responsibility of it compared to just it getting mapped in some way. Maybe it was a private road at some point and fell through the cracks. It would, I guess, to some way give us a definitive opinion about who actually owns it and if we need to be responsible for it or not.
so what's that involve? What are we looking at?
It would be probably, I don't know what the title opinions go for, but $400, $500 from, someone that does title work.
If we just basically target them and tell them we only want to find out whether the county actually has an interest in that road as far as the county.
And they would have an abstractor come down, go through with the recorder and through all the records, and then this attorney would look at the records presented to him by the abstractor and provide an opinion to the county saying, in my opinion, you do, or in my opinion, you don't, or this is the nature of your interest in that piece of the property.
You'd almost have to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the problem. It's kind of,
Yeah,
and whether it was just taken over or what it was, how it ever got there, I have no
yeah,
idea.
you have to before the county can invest any money in it. And then if it turned up to be a private road, then there you are.
So that's something we want to follow through with.
I'd say we should.
Probably so.
Okay.
If
I
it's not a
did.
county road, it'll be up to the landowners.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Absolutely.
want to know whether there's even a county road there.
Yeah.
So I'd entertain a motion to hire a title person to research that to tell us if we have ownership. or have any, not ownership necessarily, just a broker.
Would that have to go out for advertising?
I don't think so for $400.
I think technically it's gonna be, yeah, and it's gonna be, I think technically more legal fees is I think what it's gonna come down to, because usually you have an attorney present a title opinion. So we'd be hiring like a second attorney just for this title opinion. So it'd probably be in funds you already have.
So who's gonna secure, Andrew, is that something you can get
Yeah, and I
somebody
can,
locally or whatever, somebody that
and I can talk to the recorder too. They
Yeah.
usually know all those
Somebody
abstractors
that
that
would
come in.
run an abstract on us, try to tell us where we are in that
Yeah.
respect? Okay. So do we have a motion to do that?
Yes, I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
The other thing I have down here, I won't skip it, is this proclamation. It's from Evansville Marine Service, and it's asking for a shipyard safety recognition day on the 14th of July. Any comments, questions?
I read it and it just actually is, they want to have a shipyard safety recognition day. They're not asking for anything or.
July 14th.
I'm good with it. I'm good.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to proclaim July 14th Shipyard Safety Recognition Day.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have one thing, I guess everyone received the email about, the county towing contract. Did you read that?
I've seen that.
Is there currently, do we have a county towing contract that you know of?
that I'm aware of.
I know a few years ago, there was a lot of discussion and stuff over this, but we had like two or three, maybe two larger towing services and one smaller towing service. And it was brought before the commissioners many years ago. That was back when Young's Wrecker Service was actually in there, and there was another wrecker service also on a smaller one. And they were put on a rotation as far as, call this one this time, call this one next time. And this gentleman, Bean Bozard, I really don't know what the name of his business is, but he sent an email and wanted to know, was there a county towing contract? And I actually didn't, I don't know.
I don't know of any contract. That's where it's so hard, because so many of these contracts, they were put into place years ago and.
Yeah, I think it may have just been an agreement at that time. And then, like right now, both of those towing services are out of business.
Mhm.
And now we've got this one, we've got Ohio Valley, and then there's another small one. So, I don't know, unless they want to come to the commissioners meeting and request something, I don't know what else
I don't know how
to
they,
tell them.
I don't know how that process works.
I don't
It's
either.
a dispatch, police officer type deal, and.
I would imagine it goes through sheriff's department, who goes,
Oh, it's
calls them dispatch, and then they probably
Mhm.
follow whatever procedure's been given.
Mhm.
Which our dispatches have covered at Tulsa City Police Department, so.
And then if they do need, the big, huge rollbacks or whatever, big wreckage, they always call Don Aronson at Bob's Garage. And because he does a lot of the semis and stuff, but I don't know, unless they want to come to the commissioners meeting and maybe make something to the effect that they would like to see it put on a rotation or something. There's nothing really that we can do because there's nothing on the books.
I would maybe reach out to Tulsa City Police Department, just from my knowledge, of history with that. I would maybe reach out to them and see what their rotation is through dispatch, because I'm sure most of that's handled through dispatch.
I think it is, because in my 12 years here, I haven't, we've never discussed that here at the commissioner meeting, so.
And it's been
So that
Like I
I
said,
can
quite a
remember.
few
and
years
I'm
ago.
pretty sure that's never been brought up here.
when Young's Wrecker Service and
And so the question would have to be, it's like Becky says, as they come and they go.
Yeah.
how do you get on the rotation, or how does that
Mhm.
work? I have no idea.
I don't either. but-
And a lot of it is you want to get somebody that's responsive. You don't want to wait for hours to clear a
Yep.
road. So, I mean,
You know, until they come with something before us. But I just wanted to address this email that we got.
And I think Chris is right.
Yeah.
The question needs to be asked to dispatch, or Tennessee Police
Mhm.
Department that runs dispatch.
anything else? That said, our next meeting's on June the 18th at 6 PM. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Need your signatures.
I looked back at last year's